This is a conversation we're supposed to have in whispers, if at all, especially when you get older. It's the last real taboo, the thing we do in private but pretend doesn't exist in public. But I'm tired of whispering. I'm tired of the silence that surrounds our own bodies, our own pleasure, our own humanity as we age. Most people will click away from this video within the first minute. They'll feel a flash of discomfort, a flicker of shame, and decide it's easier to just scroll on. But skipping this means choosing to stay in that silence. It means accepting the quiet lie that your desires have an expiration date. The cost of leaving is letting society's awkwardness dictate your relationship with yourself, and I think you deserve so much more than that. This isn't just about the physical act, it's about the story we tell ourselves when we're alone, and it's time we wrote a new one. Hidden truths. Let's just get right into it because there's no gentle way to approach a truth that's been buried so deep. There's this invisible script, isn't there? A set of unwritten rules that society hands us about aging. You're supposed to become more dignified, more serene, more, I don't know, asexual. It's like desire is seen as this messy, chaotic, youthful thing, and as you get older, you're expected to have tidied it all up, put it in a box, and stored it in the attic of your past. And God forbid you ever admit to still visiting that attic. The act itself, masturbation when you're older, it feels like it breaks that rule in the most profound way. It's a declaration that you are still a physical, feeling, wanting being, even when the world is trying to gently nudge you into a more neutral category. It's a secret rebellion in the quiet of your own room. But with that rebellion comes this wave of something else, something heavier. It's not just pleasure, it's complicated. It can be tangled up with loneliness, with memory, with a sense of defiance, and yes, sometimes with a deep and unsettling shame. It's the shame of feeling like you're doing something wrong. Not morally wrong, maybe, but age inappropriate. Like you missed the memo that this part of your life was supposed to be over. And that feeling, that quiet, corrosive shame, is what we never ever talk about. We don't talk about how it feels to look in the mirror and see a body that has lived a life, a body with stories etched into its skin, and wonder if this body is still allowed to feel this kind of private, selfish joy. We just assume we're the only one. The only one feeling out of sync with the dignified, passionless elder we're supposed to be. But what if that dignified, passionless elder is a myth? What if it's the biggest lie we've all quietly agreed to uphold? This conversation is about dismantling that lie right here, right now, because the truth is, our bodies and our desires don't just switch off. They evolve, they change their language. And if we don't learn to listen to that new language, we risk becoming strangers to ourselves. Fading echoes. And that leads to the next layer, which is the physical reality of it all. Our bodies are not static. The vessel we inhabit at 40, 50, 60 and beyond is not the same one we had at 20. The energy is different. The responses are different. The hormones, my God, the hormones are a whole universe of chaos and change that no one gives you a map for. They just hand you a fan and wish you good luck. For men, for women, for everyone, things shift. The fire that once was a roaring bonfire might now be a slow, steady burn of embers, and that can be deeply confusing. You remember what it used to feel like, that instant, thoughtless, explosive need, and now it might take more time. It might take more intention. It might take a different kind of touch, a different kind of focus. And in that gap between memory and reality, self-doubt creeps in. Is something broken? Am I losing a part of myself? We see a culture, especially online, that is obsessed with a very specific type of performance, a very specific type of youthful, aggressive, instantly gratified pleasure. And our aging bodies don't always match that highlight reel. The experience becomes less about a guaranteed fireworks show and more about an exploration, a rediscovery. You're learning a new instrument, and that instrument is your own body. Sometimes the notes are beautiful and clear, and other times they're fumbling and uncertain. And it's in those fumbling moments that the shame can really bite. The feeling of, this isn't working like it used to, can spiral into, I'm not working like I used to. It becomes a reflection of our own perceived obsolescence. We tie our vitality so closely to our sexuality that when one changes, we fear the other is gone forever. But what if it's not a fading? What if it's a deepening? What if the pleasure now is less about the peak and more about the entire journey, less about the loud, bombastic performance, and more about the quiet, internal sensation of being present in your own skin? It's a more subtle pleasure, a more mindful one. It requires you to be kind to yourself, to be patient with this new version of you. It asks you to let go of the ego of your youth and embrace the wisdom of your present. The echo of what you were is not a judgment on what you are. It's just a reminder of how far you've come. The challenge is to love the body you have today, with all its new rhythms and quirks, not to mourn the one you used to have. Quiet rooms? Now let's talk about the elephant in the room of every quiet room: loneliness. Because we have to be honest, sometimes this act, this private ritual, isn't just about physical release. Sometimes it's a desperate, aching cry against the silence. When you're older, the landscape of your life can change dramatically. The kids might be grown and gone. A partner might be lost or gone, or simply emotionally distant, sleeping in the same bed but a million miles away. Friendships shift. The world gets a little quieter, a little smaller. And in that quiet, the stillness can be deafening. In those moments, the need for touch, for connection, for a reminder that you are a living, breathing, feeling entity becomes overwhelming. Masturbation can become a stand-in for intimacy. It's a way to feel something, anything, when you feel emotionally numb or invisible. It's a way to generate your own warmth when the world feels cold. It's a confirmation of life. I can still feel this, therefore I am still here. There's a profound sadness in that, a beautiful, tragic human sadness, and we coat it in shame because it feels like a failure. It feels like an admission that you are alone and that you have to resort to yourself for the comfort that is supposed to come from another. But I want to reframe that. What if it's not a failure? What if it's a testament to your own resilience? It's you, refusing to let your capacity for feeling wither and die. It's you, in the absence of external connection, creating an internal one. It's a form of self-soothing, like a child sucking their thumb. It's a way of saying, I am here and I will care for myself. It's a survival mechanism for the soul. The world can be a very isolating place, especially as we age and the social structures that once held us up begin to fall away. To find a way to connect with your own life force, to remind yourself of your own vitality in the dead of night, is not pathetic. It is powerful. It is a radical act of self-preservation. It's you refusing to become a ghost in your own life. So the next time you find yourself in that quiet room, seeking that feeling, maybe you can peel back the layer of shame and see the layer of strength underneath. See the person who is choosing to feel, choosing to live, choosing to connect with the most fundamental part of themselves, even and especially when they are alone. Inner critic. And what about the voice in your head while all this is happening? The inner critic, that relentless narrator who loves to judge our every move. For many people, especially as they get older and try to reconcile this act with their image of themselves, that inner voice is brutal. It's whispering all the things we fear are true. You're too old for this. This is sad. What would people think if they knew? Shouldn't you be past this by now? This is what lonely people do. That voice is a reflection of every societal message we've ever absorbed. It's the voice of our parents, of religious teachings, of magazine articles about aging gracefully, of all the subtle and not so subtle cues that tell us that this part of our humanity should be packed away. It's a chorus of judgment, and it's happening inside our own minds. This inner dialogue can turn an act of potential self-love into an act of self-flagellation. You're seeking pleasure or release, but you're simultaneously punishing yourself for seeking it. It's a bizarre and painful paradox. You're trying to connect with your body, but your mind is screaming that you shouldn't. This creates a disconnect, a split between your physical self and your conscious self. It prevents you from ever truly being present in the moment, from ever truly receiving the gift of your own touch without a side of guilt. So how do we silence that critic? Or maybe a better question, how do we change the channel? You can't just will it to shut up. It's a deeply ingrained pattern. But you can start by consciously introducing a new voice, a kinder voice, a more compassionate narrator. When the critic says, "This is sad," you can intentionally counter with, "This is human." When it says, "You're too old," you can reply, "My body is alive and deserves to feel good." It feels silly at first. It feels like you're lying to yourself. But it's like exercising a new muscle. The more you do it, the stronger that compassionate voice becomes. You have to actively choose to parent yourself through the moment, to give yourself the permission that you feel the world has denied you. It's about recognizing that the critical voice is not the voice of truth, it's the voice of fear, it's the voice of conditioning. Your true self, the core of you, doesn't judge your humanity, it simply experiences it. The work is to align your conscious mind with that deeper, non judgmental truth. To treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend who confided in you with this same secret. You wouldn't tell them they were sad or pathetic. You would tell them they are human and worthy of pleasure and comfort. It's time we started talking to ourselves that way. Digital ghosts. Let's touch on something very modern because this experience doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in the digital age. It happens in a world saturated with pornography and social media, and that adds a whole other layer of complexity, especially when you're older. The vast majority of mainstream online content is made for and by the young. It presents a very specific, often impossibly athletic and relentlessly high-performance version of sexuality. When you're older, engaging with that content can feel alienating. It can feel like looking through a window into a party you weren't invited to. You see these bodies that don't look like yours, performing in ways that don't match your reality, and it can amplify that feeling of being past it. It can make you feel like a ghost, haunting the digital hallways of a world that is no longer for you. This can create a profound sense of dysmorphia, not just about your body, but about your desires. You might start to think that the way you feel, the way you need to be touched, the pacing you require is somehow wrong because it doesn't match the hyper-accelerated, often aggressive content that is so readily available. It can make your own, more mature, perhaps more gentle and nuanced desires feel inadequate. It can also create a new kind of loneliness. You're surrounded by millions of videos and images of human connection, but none of it reflects you. It's a sea of faces and bodies, and none of them share your story. This is a uniquely modern anxiety, the feeling of being erased by the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't know what to do with an older person's desire. It's not a profitable demographic for the fantasy machine, so it either ignores you or it feeds you things that make you feel even more out of place. This is where a conscious choice becomes critical. It's about curating your own experience. It's about recognizing that the online world is a distorted fantasy, not a documentary. It's about perhaps stepping away from the content that makes you feel less than and turning your focus inward. The most powerful tool you have is your own imagination, your own memories, your own unique sensory map. The digital world wants to outsource your fantasy life. It wants to sell you a pre-packaged version of desire. The act of reclaiming that, of generating your own pleasure from your own internal world, becomes an act of defiance against that machine. It's saying, I don't need your version of what's hot, I have my own. It's about trusting that what feels good to you is the only thing that matters, regardless of what's trending online. It's a return to the analog, to the self, in a world that wants to keep you digitally distracted and dissatisfied. Sacred space. What if we dared to think about this differently? What if we stripped away all the layers of shame and loneliness and societal expectation and looked at the act itself in a new light? What if we saw it not as something dirty or sad, but as something sacred? I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about a personal, private, spiritual sense of the word. Sacred as in a space and time that is set apart, that is just for you. A moment when you are completely 100% with yourself. No masks, no performance, no catering to anyone else's needs or desires. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated presence. In our frantic, overstimulated world, how often do we get that? How often are we truly alone and at peace within our own skin? For many, the answer is almost never. Our minds are constantly racing, worrying about work, family, finances, the state of the world. We are almost never just here. This private act can be a portal to that state of presence. It forces you to focus on your body, on your breath, on the sensations that are happening in the here and now. In that way, it can be a form of meditation. It's a way to quiet the endless noise of the chattering mind and just listen to the rhythm of your own body. It's a moment of communion with your own life force. When you touch your own skin with intention and kindness, it is an act of profound self-love. It's a way of thanking your body for carrying you through this life, for all the stress and sickness and joy and grief it has held. You are anointing your own body with your own attention. Seen from this perspective, it's not about a frantic search for an orgasm. The climax is just a part of it. It's not the whole point. The point is the journey. The point is the intimacy with self. The point is the creation of a sacred space where you are allowed to be completely, unapologetically you. A space where you are not a mother, a father, a boss, an employee, but simply a being of flesh and spirit, reconnecting to your most essential nature. This reframing is a choice. It's an active, conscious decision to elevate the experience. It's about bringing a sense of reverence to your own pleasure, your own body. It's about treating yourself not as an object to be used for a quick release, but as a temple to be honored. And when you start to see it that way, the shame simply cannot coexist with that reverence. It withers in the light of such profound self-acceptance. Finding power. There is immense power in reclaiming a narrative that has been used to make you feel small. For your entire life, you've been told stories about what your body is for. When you were young, it was a source of mystery and maybe shame. Then it became an object of desire for others, a tool for procreation, a vehicle for work and labor. It was always in service of something or someone else. Your pleasure, your needs were often secondary. To masturbate, especially when you're older, is to finally, fully claim your body and your pleasure as your own. It belongs to no one else. It is not for anyone else's approval or consumption. It is yours. That is an act of sovereignty. It is you planting a flag in the soil of your own skin and declaring, "This is mine." This realization can be incredibly liberating. It can untangle you from a lifetime of seeking validation from the outside. You realize you don't need a partner to feel desirable. You don't need society's permission to feel pleasure. You contain the source of it within yourself. You are self-sufficient in the most fundamental way. This is not to say that shared intimacy isn't wonderful and important. It is, but the relationship you have with yourself is the one that lasts your entire life. It is the foundation upon which all other relationships are built. If you are not at home in your own body, if you do not know how to bring yourself comfort and joy, you will always be seeking it from others in a state of desperation. But when you know, truly know, that you can meet your own needs, you enter into relationships with others not from a place of lack, but from a place of wholeness. You can share your pleasure rather than needing to extract it from someone else. This is a profound shift in personal power. It's the difference between being a beggar and being a host. So this private act is not a consolation prize for being alone. It is training ground for self-love. It is where you learn the map of your own desires. It's where you practice listening to your body. It's where you learn to be your own lover, your own comforter, your own source of validation. The power you cultivate in those quiet moments will radiate out into every other area of your life. It's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing at the deepest level that you are whole and complete all by yourself. Future self. And so what does this mean for the future? For the person you are becoming day by day, it means making a pact with your future self. It means promising that you will not abandon your body as it continues to age. You will not treat it with disgust or disappointment as it wrinkles and sags and slows down. You will continue to touch it with kindness. You will continue to listen to its changing needs. You will continue to honor its capacity for pleasure, however that pleasure may look. This is a radical act in an ageist culture that worships youth and discards the old. To choose to continue to find joy and life in your aging body is a rebellion against that disposability. It's a political statement. It says, I will not be erased. My vitality does not have an expiration date. Think about the person you will be in 5, 10, 20 years. That person will be counting on the kindness you show yourself today. The habits of self-love or self-loathing that you practice now are the ones you will carry into that future. If you treat yourself with shame today, you are sentencing your future self to a life of quiet misery and disconnect. But if you choose compassion now, if you choose to reframe this act as one of sacred self-care, you are giving your future self the greatest gift possible, the gift of being at peace in their own skin. It's about seeing your life and your body not as something that is declining from a peak, but as something that is continuously unfolding. There are seasons to life and there are seasons to desire. The wild, chaotic spring of youth gives way to the lush, full summer, which transitions into the rich harvest season of maturity, and eventually the quiet, reflective winter. Each season has its own beauty, its own wisdom, its own form of pleasure. Our society only celebrates the spring, but there is so much depth and richness to be found in the other seasons. The challenge is to embrace the season you are in, to stop mourning the spring and start celebrating the harvest. Your future self is asking you to do that. They are asking you to lay the groundwork now for a future filled with self-acceptance and gentle, knowing joy. They are asking you to be the one who finally breaks the cycle of shame so they can live in freedom. Final piece. So we bring it all together. The secret shame, the changing body, the lonely nights, the inner critic, the digital ghosts. We've looked at them, we've named them, and by bringing them into the light, they begin to lose their power. The final piece doesn't come from getting a perfect answer or a magic solution. It doesn't come from stopping the act or pretending it doesn't happen. The piece comes from integration. It comes from accepting this part of your humanity as just that, a part of your humanity. It is not the whole story of who you are, but it is a chapter, and it's a chapter that deserves to be read with compassion, not judgment. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's a complex, nuanced, deeply personal experience that is unique to you. It's a reflection of your aliveness, your resilience, your capacity for feeling. The goal isn't to stop being a complex, messy, desiring human being. The goal is to stop punishing yourself for it. The goal is to be a kinder human to yourself, to look in the mirror at the face and body that has carried you through this entire wild life and to feel a sense of gratitude, not disgust. To touch your own skin and feel reverence, not shame. This is the ultimate self-care. It's the ultimate act of coming home to yourself. You have spent a lifetime caring for others, worrying about others, performing for others. Perhaps the great, beautiful work of this later stage of life is to finally turn that incredible capacity for care inward, to give yourself the same unconditional love and acceptance you've so freely given away. So the next time you are alone, in the quiet of your room, I want you to remember this conversation. I want you to take a breath and choose a new thought. Choose kindness, choose presence, choose to see the strength in your resilience, the beauty in your survival, and the sacredness in your own touch. That is where the silence is broken. That is where the shame ends. And that is where your peace begins. This convo is so needed. It feels like someone finally opened a window in a stuffy room. What's one piece of societal shame about aging you are now ready to let go of?